It's hard to believe, but Broncos training camp has come to an end. Steve, the Hall of Famer. Feels like I went pretty quick, didn't it?
It went too fast. I want to see some more football, but we're going to see some of that in the regular season, obviously. But, man, this training camp is blown by.
It flew by. Like you said, I think a quarterback competition certainly helps it be exciting. But guys made plays almost every day at training camp. A different guy stood out. And today, Steve, we kind of finished with a flourish here with a joint practice between the Broncos and the Green Bay Packers. Since we're at the end of camp, let's start with the end of the day, which was a 2-minute situation, Steve. A little bit more than a minute left on the clock, 60 yards away from the end zone, down 3. There were 5 total series, if you will, that happened. The defense guarded against 3 of them, 2 of which were led by Jordan Love, Packers starting quarterback. Defense got stops all 3 times. Pat Surtain had a 4th down pass breakup. Reese Taylor had an interception on one of them and then another incompletion force. And then on the other side, Steve, the Broncos offense, Bo Nix led the first team group, went down and got a field goal. Jarrett Stidham moves the second team down there, gets a field goal. 5 for 5 for the Broncos, Steve, and it capped off a really nice day. What do you think of that situational work and just the way the Broncos ended this practice?
Well, I thought the guys came out and really responded well. And I think that this is like knowing that this is probably their last really chance to show, hey, I'm a player. Guys individually to be able to show the coaches and their teammates that they're players. And they made plays. You saw plays on the defensive side, saw plays on the offensive side. You saw great catches. You saw great throws. I thought the quarterbacks performed really well under pressure. Each of them stepping in and having their opportunity to shine. And they didn't sway away from that moment. And defensively, we stepped up. Pat Surtain making a big play there, big stop, waving his finger. We had a few dropped interceptions, and unfortunately, I can relate to those guys. I dropped a few picks back in the day. I hate it when it happens, but they were in the right place at the right time, and you can work on the picks. But it was very encouraging to see how both sides of the ball did well, and even the kicking game looked good.
Yeah, and Steve, you watched the defense for a lot of the day. I went to watch Bo Nix in the offense and Jarrett Stidham and Zach Wilson, who I thought all had nice days. But you mentioned yesterday, I think, that there were some communication things, maybe just too many guys left open. That didn't seem to be the case today, and especially the secondary. You mentioned Surtain. P.J. Locke was in position to make a play. J.O. Skinner.
Yes.
Riley Moss. I mean, over and over, guys put themselves in position to make plays, and that's against Jordan Love, who is one of the best young quarterbacks in this game.
Yeah, and it's got to be so encouraging for the guys to know that they can come out there and play against really their first-team offense and put it together this well. And this is a relatively young group in the secondary, and they were on the same page today. And that's what they got to have, that each and every day. They got to have that consistency of being on the same page, knowing where your buddies are, knowing where your help is, and making a play when the opportunity arises.
There were some good rushes, too. Nick Bonito's kind of worked back into team action after missing some time. He had a sack that basically ended the Packers' first team's second attempt at the 2-minute drive there. Steve, I was interested to see how this defense looked just because the Packers' offense is so explosive, and they hung 40-something on Dallas, down in Dallas in the playoffs last year. I mean, It's a good group, and the way they responded, you mentioned stopping the run. I thought they did that really well. It was encouraging, and then you mentioned kind of the individual guys. Sean Payton said after practice, there's probably 60 to 61 guys right now who have a chance to make the 53. So you've got 8 guys battling out, and like you said, we're seeing guys push for that spot.
Yeah, and it's got to be nerve-wracking because you don't really know who the 53 are.
Yep.
And so that's why everybody you got to come out here and play like it's your first day of practice, and play like your pants are on fire because people are still watching. And like Sean Payton says, you're not just playing for this team, you're playing for the other 31 teams as well. Just you never know who's watching, and if they see you loafing on a play or see you get beat over and over again, guess what? That may cause you an opportunity. So the guys really left it on the field today, and I think they'll be proud of their performance.
Steve, we as we move to the offensive side of the ball here, one of the reasons it was so encouraging to see the team play well, so the Packers aren't planning to play a lot of starters, if any, on Sunday at Empower Field at Mile High. Like, this was the work that they were going to get. And Mike McGlinchey had a great rep early against Rashawn Gary. We saw Cortland Sutton make some contested catches in traffic. Tim Patrick, I thought, had a nice day. And then at quarterback for Bo Nix, he is starting this weekend. But for him to get good work and really play well against the Packers starting defense. I thought that was really encouraging.
Yeah, it's got to be encouraging, and it's got to feel good for him because I'm sure he watched all the NFL teams and he knows, how good that Green Bay Packers defense can be. They got a ton of talent on the defensive line. And for our offensive line to hold up, I was actually watching a lot of the individual drills with the offensive line, our offensive line versus their defensive line. And, man, we did an amazing job down there. And I know it gets much more difficult once you get out into the actual game. But, man, one-on-one, they did a heck of a job blocking. And we're going to have some good depth on that offensive line. And, I think we're going to surprise some people.
Steve, that's how I know you're a real football guy, because I'm down there watching 7-on-7. They're throwing the passes. I'm looking for the touchdowns, and you're down there watching one-on-ones.
Well, I got to see the O-line and D-line, man.
I like it. Well, that's yin and yang, Steve. We complimented. I'm watching the touchdowns. You're watching the blocking. Just some impressive plays. I mean, Jarrett Stidham had a nice throw down in the red zone, tight window. Bo did the same thing. I think Zach Wilson looks more and more comfortable every single day he's out there. He had a really nice day, I thought. It just – like you said, it's encouraging, and we don't quite know what to make of a young team, but some good work. And all through training camp, Steve, as we look back, I think the progress this team has made has been really encouraging. As you look back, who maybe stands out to you as a guy that you're like, man, he was, I don't want to say the star of camp, but stood out to you as you look back?
Oh, man, well, I would say on the defensive side, Jonah Ellis, just, his tenacity, rushing the passer, holding that edge, and I don't know if he'll be named the starter, but he's going to see significant time, and he's going to make an impact on that defense this year. And on the offensive side of the ball, man, who could I say? I'm not sure. Quarterback Bo Nix. He's been the guy. He's been the highlight of camp, and that's who all eyes have been on from day one. And he hasn't failed. He hasn't disappointed anyone with his performance. And just listen to him talk in his post-practice interviews. He's just prepared. There's something that's part of it, part of his nature. He's going to come out prepared. He's not going to let something slip through the cracks.
I think one of the things Zach Wilson said that was really impressive was just how Bo's handled all that comes with being a high draft pick, and he's been really impressed. And just the day-by-day mentality. Bo was asked about, hey, how do you not think about if you're going to be named the starter, when that decision's coming? And he said, I've got to worry about which way we're supposed to run, which blitz is coming, what's my hot route here, what's the route combination. He's got plenty on his plate, but he has impressed. Steve, one guy that we can't wrap up a training camp show without mention is Devon Vele. He sounds like he's going to be fine after a minor injury. Left practice the other day, but did not practice today. Might play on Sunday. Steve, he's right up there with the standouts at camp, I think.
Yeah, and I think that he's done enough early in camp that even if he doesn't play, we know that he's a lock on the roster. Again, long, lanky, strong, fast runner, strong hands. We saw that amazing catch that he had in the end zone a few days ago where he went to the ground. We thought he was going to drop it, and he just held onto it very tightly. And I think the coaches are super impressed with him, and we know he's going to be one of the receivers on the roster.
Yeah, he's played well, and we've seen many guys play well over this long stretch of Broncos training camp that has now come to an end. It's hard to believe. We will be back after the Broncos preseason game, their preseason home opener against the Green Bay Packers. But for now, for the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, I'm Aric DiLalla.